Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Chamber of Pops. I'm your host, V, and today we have a brand new monthly book review, and of course, it's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So, let's get into it. Now, there's a few things I need to remind you guys of. Number one, if you have not read Chamber of Secrets by Harry Potter and Chamber of Secrets, please click off this video. This is a deep dive and spoiler discussion video. We will be getting into spoilers and all that stuff. Um, so if you are reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets or you haven't started it yet, click off this video and then come back when you're done reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And that's really just it. Guys, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I've read these books about a billion times. And about once a month, I'm going to be rereading a book and once a month reviewing it here on the Chamber of Pops YouTube channel, where I will be doing a deep dive on the book. So, this book has a lot of information, and I just found myself trying to have to remember all this information. That was told, and I found myself having so many times to just rewind a bit on my audiobook and take a few steps back and try to remember what I wrote. And of course, I had to write notes. So let's start at the very beginning. Harry is back at the Dursleys for another horrible summer. It is his first summer since being at the Dursleys, since leaving for an entire year to go study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And where we see Harry is Ron, Hermione, and Hagrid. They're not talking to him. It's not that they're not friends, they're not sending him any letters. He can't take Hedwig out, and the Dursleys are just treating him horribly like they always do. They don't remember that it's his birthday at some point. He's just having a tough time dealing with it. And instead they remember that, Mr. Dursley, who works for a drilling company and sells drills or makes drills. Can't remember what it was in the beginning of the last Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. But anyways, so he's trying to land this deal that involved drills, and that deal was taking place on Harry's birthday. But like always, they always forget that it is Harry's birthday, so no surprise there. And yeah. Basically, Harry meets a house elf named Dobby, and Dobby's trying to protect Harry, tells Harry that this house elf named Dobby took Harry's letters in hopes that it would stop Harry from going back to Hogwarts. And then when Dobby gets Harry in trouble with the Dursleys, Harry gets locked in his bedroom, and the Dursleys say they're never going to send Harry back to that wizarding school, but then that plan fails when Ron takes his dad's flying car to Harry and basically rescues Harry from the Dursleys. Harry then spends the rest of the summer at Ron's house, home, which is called the Barrow. And yeah, Harry's having fun. He learns how to use flue powder, which is basically a dust that you put into fire and you could transport to another fireplace. Apparently it's a transportation that a lot of wizarding families use to travel. And everything is all going well, aside from the fact that there is probably great danger happening at Hogwarts. And yeah, everything goes well until Dobby strikes again. And Dobby strikes again by... Okay, I'm not going to continue holding this book. My arm is hurting. And then it all goes good until Dobby strikes again and stops Harry and Ron from entering onto the barrier onto platform 9 3/4. And then probably some of the funniest things happen. Harry has an owl named Hedwig. And instead of thinking, maybe I need to send Hedwig off to go and tell Hogwarts that, hey, I'm stuck. Me and Ron can't get to Hogwarts. The barrier's not working. Send help. They take Ron's father's flying car again and take it all the way to Hogwarts, where one of my favorite chapters takes place, and that is Chapter 5, The Whomping Willow. And basically, to top off this completely ridiculous point, J.K. Rowling makes it self-aware that this is so ridiculous decision by Ron and Harry that she literally has, I think it's Professor McGonagall, literally say exactly what I just said about why didn't they use Hedwig to get a message to Hogwarts. And it's just brilliant writing, because I'm sitting here listening to this book, and I'm thinking, use Hedwig. No. Yeah, and they completely destroy... Oh, but it gets even better. Aside from the fact that they completely destroy the Ron's father's flying car, they were discovered by Muggles. As in, Muggles saw this car going up in the air and disappearing. Genius, these two are. So then basically they don't get expelled, but they cannot put a foot out of line. Ron gets a howler, which is basically a letter of a parent whose voice gets amplified throughout the entire of Hogwarts, and yells at Ron, and it reveals that Mr. Weasley's in trouble at work. So, and then this all leads into... Oh, I forgot to write this one half down. And it all... Actually, let me look it up quickly. Actually, no, I remember it now. So basically, Harry and Ron cannot put a foot out of line. And basically, they're going through their first few months over at Hogwarts, and they're trying to stay out of trouble, and nothing's really happening. And I remember they were at Nearly Headless Nick's Death Day party when they figure out that somebody has opened the Chamber of Secrets, which is apparently a legend thing, as the Hogwarts staff puts it, but it ends up being real, is a chamber that Salazar Slytherin, the founder, one of the 4 founders of Hogwarts, basically made for the heir of Slytherin. And basically, Argus Filch, his cat, Miss Norris, gets petrified. And I just forgot to mention one small little bitty fact. We learn a lot more about the Wizarding World in this book, and more of the Wizarding World families. We learn about Lucius Malfoy. We learn that Draco somehow bought his way onto the Slytherin Quidditch team. We learn where Draco calls Hermione a filthy mudblood. And Ron, who broke his wand, literally trying to escape the Whomping Willow in his dad's car, accidentally makes himself eat slugs, where we find out that it's an offensive name to call a wizard who is Muggle-born, which means they have no, their blood status is, there is no wizard in their family. They're Muggle-born. There's no wizard blood status in their blood status line. There's never another wizard in their background. So we learned that there's a Muggle-born. We learned that there's a half-blood, which is a wizard who falls in love with a Muggle, and it's half and half, and then a pureblood. So, like, if we look at Harry, Ron, Hermione, Harry's family, half-blood. Harry's half-blood, right? Yeah. Yeah. So his blood status is because, he's a full wizard, but his blood status, the way it goes back is that his father was came from a pure-blooded family. His mother was a muggle-born wizard, and he's pure to all accounts. We look at Ron, who's pure to all accounts. We look to Hermione, who is muggle-born, as she has no family that was a wizard before her. It was just her. But then we look at like a half-blood, which is, again, what Voldemort is a half-blood. A muggle father, witch of a mother. I hope I made sense of that. But yeah, so we look at that, and yeah, that's a lot of information to be taken in, and that's why I had to constantly rewind, and sometimes even like now I kind of forgot to add that in. So now that we got all that cleared out, let's go back. So we get to Miss Norris is petrified. People are freaking out. They don't know anything about this chamber. Hermione convinces a teacher to explain what the Chamber of Secrets was, and it goes back to when Hogwarts was being founded by Godric Gryffindor, Helena Ravenclaw, I believe it is, Helga Hufflepuff, and Salazar Slytherin. I hope I got that right. And how Salazar Slytherin wanted only pure-blooded witches and wizards to attend, but one of the founders wanted everyone to attend, and it was like 3 versus a 1 scenario kind of thing. And that's where we learn like Ravenclaws are for students that cared about knowledge, because if it's Helena, it could even be Helena Ravenclaw. Anyways, we learned that like Godric Gryffindor wanted the brave people in his house. The Ravenclaw person, I believe it's Rowena Ravenclaw, Helga. Can't remember the other two, but yeah. The point is, like, they had, you look to what makes a Gryffindor, a Ravenclaw, a Hufflepuff, and a Slytherin, and then that's basically, yeah, it was Helga Hufflepuff, Godric Gryffindor. Was it Rowena? Was her name Rowena? Or was Rowena her daughter? I can't remember. I can't remember. I'm going to write that name down, though, when it gets mentioned in the future books. Because something with Ravenclaw gets mentioned in the future books. I'm going to write it down when I see it, when I hear it. When I hear it, when I see it, I'm going to write it down. Well, so anyways, so they find out that basically Salazar Slytherin made a secret chamber and had a beast in the secret chamber, and that his heir would know how to open the chamber and set this beast to kill all these other students who the beast felt, or who the heir of Slytherin felt was horrible. So, as I guess the story is progressing, and we're going through the story, my brain is like blanking out. So as the story is progressing, more students are getting petrified, and this is just getting Harry, Ron, Hermione worried, and then they decide they're going to make a polyjuice potion that will let them turn themselves into Slytherin students for an hour to go get information on Draco Malfoy, because they suspect Draco Malfoy is the heir to Slytherin. Now, here I'm going to mention a character that is super annoying, and I've been kind of not wanting to mention for a little bit. And that character is Gilda Roy Lockhart. So his story is He is a famous wizard who has done so many adventures. He is narcissistic. He's all about himself. He talks about himself. He compares himself to all this stuff. And he likes Harry because Harry's a famous wizard himself. And Harry's just trying to run away from Lockhart. And he and Ron look at Lockhart as like he cannot be real. Like at one point he sets Cornish pixies, I believe they were, on the students, and then cowers away while Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and I believe Neville, goes and cleans up his mess. Yeah. Well, spoiler alert. By the end of the book, we find out he's a fraud, and that he basically he interviewed people, stole their stories, and then used a memory erasing charm to make them forget that they ever did that. And he stole all those stories for himself. Yeah, he's so annoying that I just don't even care to mention him. Now, back to the story. So basically, Lockhart's running amok. He's thinking he's the bravest one, that he knows how to stop this beast, and that he knows how to defeat this beast. But again, like I just said, he's a coward, and he actually just doesn't know anything of what he's talking about. So, yeah, so there is all that happens. Now, let's get into probably my favorite part of this book. Harry, Ron, and Hermione have to use this polyjuice potion. They're taking ingredients. They're doing all what they're doing to make this potion in secret. And then, just as they're about to transform, after they transform into so Harry and Ron transform into Draco's goons, Crabby and Goyle, Hermione accidentally transfigures herself into a cat. And because this potion that lasts for an hour doing human transformations, they don't know how well it'll work on an animal transformation. So, as well as this goes, they find out that Draco is not the heir of Slytherin, and he says some nasty things. They find out that Mr. Weasley is facing an inquiry and an investigation, and they don't know, like, if he'll recover from any of this. And this makes Harry feel sad because he feels sad for what he did to Mr. Weasley by taking his car. And then they find out Hermione's a cat, and then they take her up to the hospital wing. Oh, yeah, and Harry, after Dobby decides to hurt Harry to get him to go home, decides to put a rogue bludger, which we all know Harry plays Quidditch, and that the the 3 balls in Quidditch, I should say, are, no, 4, 2 bludgers. There's the Quaffle and the Golden Snitch. Well, Harry gets the Golden Snitch from Malfoy, but in the same time he breaks his arm because the bludger hits him in the arm, and Mr. Lockhart decides to remove all the bones from Harry's arm. And Harry finds out that Dobby did it, and that Dobby should basically think twice before messing with Harry at this point. Yeah, I keep forgetting these little details, and I have a lot of them written down. I'm like, as I'm going through this book, I'm remembering details. So, anyways, as these attacks continue to happen, and the school finds out that Harry's actually can speak parcel tongue, they start questioning that Harry's is the heir of Slytherin, even though he's a Gryffindor. And this rumor continues on. Harry's trying to convince people, no, I don't have anything against Muggle-borns. My best friend is a Muggle-born. And this leads to Hermione basically saving the day once more. Because they're trying to figure out who is doing these attacks and who is behind these attacks and what is this monster, Hermione finally figures it out. And then she goes and she gets herself petrified. The reason is, and she finds out what the Slytherin monster is and how it's been traveling throughout the school. So basically, when she gets petrified, everyone's like, oh, it's definitely not Harry now. Harry would never petrify his friend. Well, this leads Harry. Oh, but before I go a little bit further, I just remembered a small little detail that I completely forgot. Harry and Ron and Hermione have been figuring all this stuff out in a private girl's bathroom that nobody goes into because there's a crying ghost named Moaning Myrtle. Well, Harry, as we know, goes into that bathroom with Ron, finds a diary, and figures out how to work the diary. And they now suspect Hagrid is behind all this. And then this leads to Hermione, who doesn't want to believe it's Hagrid who said, because I guess this monster was set once before, 50 years ago. So basically, this leads to them questioning whether Hagrid did it or not. Hermione figures out who the monster is. And then this leads to my least favorite chapter of all time. Harry and Ron sneak out after putting new restrictions on to protect students. Harry and Ron sneak out to go confront Hagrid. But Hagrid has to go to Azkaban, which is the wizard prison. And he basically tells to Harry and Ron to follow the spiders. And this leads to chapter 15. My least favorite chapter. And I will explain that why. So as they don't understand what they mean by follow the spiders, they're in herbology and they see a bunch of spiders running away. And then Harry nudges at Ron and says, we need to follow these spiders. But they can't do it right now. They have to wait until nightfall. Now, spoiler alert. Not really, but here's a spoiler about myself. I am terrified of spiders. I do not like spiders one bit. I hate them. Now, I saw these movies before I read the book. I don't know what's worse. Watching a giant spider crawling around in a movie theater or reading about a giant spider about to kill people. Yeah, I don't like spiders, so why do I not like this chapter on Aragog? Because I don't like to think of a giant spider that could possibly come out and kill me. And I wouldn't like that. Like, that's how much I don't like spiders. And yeah, so chapter 15, I don't like to say it's that I would hate a chapter of a book, but if there was one chapter I hated, it's not because the chapter is bad at anything. I just then, if I listen or read chapter 15 of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, I start thinking about spiders, and I don't want the thought of spiders, especially before I go to bed. Because, oh my god, I know I keep scratching my nose, it's really itchy. I don't want the thought of spiders creeping in at night. So basically, Aragog reveals, one, that he doesn't know who the monster is. All he knows is that he would never, or that he does know and that he would just never tell Hagrid what it is. So then they're back at square one. But he does reveal that the spider killed a girl in a bathroom. And then Harry and Ron kind of lie their way to go see Hermione by accident. When they're at Hermione's, they find the note that she wrote on what the monster is and how it's traveling. And it all makes sense. Harry finds out that all of these students saw the spider, saw the monster, which is actually a basilisk, which is, in short, without getting into too much technical details, a giant snake. Yeah, I keep now thinking about spiders. No, this basilisk is a giant snake that if you look it directly in the eyes, it will kill you. But none of these people who were petrified, like Hermione, never actually stared at it in the eyes. They stared at it through other objects, which meant they only got petrified. And then, to make matters even better, they find out that the heir of Slytherin took Ginny. And they find out that Mr. Gilda Roy Lockhart, who has been lying about the knowledge he knew on this monster this entire book, is a fraud. And that he was actually just going to cower it away and run away, and that beforehand he was going to, erase Harry and Ron's memory, but that doesn't turn out so good because Harry basically uses the Expelliarmus charm, takes his wand, and Ron grabs Gilda Roy Lockhart's wand, throws it away, and then Harry does something even dumber. He and Ron convince Gilda Roy Lockhart to go with them. And that's what they do. So they find out where the Chamber of Secrets is, and it was right in front of their eyes, the entrance to the Chamber of Secrets, right in their eyes, because it's the same bathroom that they've been working out how to figure out who the hell is plotting these attacks. And then basically after asking Moaning Myrtle how she died and what bathroom she did, Harry speaks in Parseltongue willingly, because the last few times he's done it, he's only done it on accident. And then they go down. But the idiot that is Gilda Roy Lockhart, decides to take Ron's broken wand and tries to curse Harry and Ron and make them lose their memories. And that he would come up and say that he he defeated the basilisk, but that it involved Harry, Ron, and Ginny all dead. Well, because he took Ron's broken wand and that the wand has been acting up all year, he accidentally obliviates his own memory and causing a ripple within in this tunnel to collapse. So Ron's like, listen, I'll stay with this lunatic, which is Gilda Roy Lockhart. You go get Ginny. Harry then goes and finds Ginny, but that she's dying. And then who has really been behind these attacks? A man named Tom Riddle. Obviously, Harry finds Tom Riddle's diary. Tom Riddle shows Harry basically everything that happened. And then it's revealed that Tom Riddle's new name, which we all know, is Lord Voldemort. Yeah, so Voldemort's past self that he enclosed in a diary was out there hunting and terrorizing Hogwarts. Well, Fawkes the Phoenix, Dumbledore's pet phoenix, comes, brings Harry the sorting hat. And to Harry, it's no use. Why would you bring me a sorting hat? It's no use. and basically to attempt to save Ginny's life and not look at this basilisk in the eyes while Fawkes takes care of that and makes the fight a little bit more even for Harry. Oh yeah, Tom Riddle takes Harry's wand. Tom Riddle, aka Voldemort, takes Harry's wand. And basically, Fawkes makes this fight 10 times easier because Fawkes removes the basilisk's ability to see by literally gouging out its eyes. Okay? And then Harry puts the sorting hat on and basically begs it just to find that he gets in the head and finds out that he is holding a sword that was hidden inside of the sorting hat. So basically, Harry uses it, kills the basilisk, but in the process, he gets one of the basilisk's teeth, that has poisonous venom, gets him in the arm. So as he's about to die, Fawkes the Phoenix lays on his injured arm, cries on it, heals Harry, and Harry is back. But then Tom Riddle wants to fight Harry, but Harry finds out that the best way to defeat Tom Riddle, aka the past Voldemort's self, is to literally destroy the diary. So he takes the basilisk fang that he just pulled out of his arm, shoves it into the diary, and it burns a hole. And obviously, Voldemort's past self, Tom Riddle, is gone forever. Ginny wakes up. They get reunited with Ron. And if you think that's where our story ends, it's not. And in front of Professor McGonagall, Mr. and Mrs. Weasley, Ginny, and Ron, Harry, and Dumbledore, Harry reveals, well, actually Dumbledore, who had actually taught Voldemort 50 years ago, reveals that not many people knows Voldemort by what they knew him as at school, which was Tom Riddle. And basically, it's all good and dandy until Lucius Malfoy, who, by the way, who is Draco Malfoy's father, shows up. And I shouldn't mention this at the beginning of the book. It's just not that important, but I'll just mention it quickly. Yeah, Lucius Malfoy and Arthur Weasley get into a fight in a bookstore. And then it turns out that Lucius Malfoy's entire plan was to destroy the Weasleys. And his whole plan was just to destroy the Weasleys, and that maybe Ginny Weasley was doing it willingly. However, obviously there were some plot holes with the plan because obviously Harry, Ron, and Hermione stuck their noses in it. They figured this all out, and Ginny Weasley, it was basically killing her, and of course it was basically killing Ginny Weasley, who is Ron's little sister, and of course it inspired Harry and Ron to go after this entity, or whatever, this past self that you want to call it. And yeah, they all celebrate. And to make matters even better, after all the crap that Dobby had done to Harry to try to protect Harry tricks Lucius Malfoy into giving Dobby a sock so Dobby can then go and be free. That's a lot to take in. And I was trying to do the best job that I could. It's just this book has so much information that I forget, and then as I'm going through it, I'm remembering it. And I forgot to add a lot of these information as I'm going through it. I'm slowly remembering everything. But that's basically the rundown of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So, what do I feel about this book at the end? I loved it. I enjoyed this book. Normally, I wouldn't be going through all this trouble for this book if I was just listening to the book or reading it for fun. because I was doing it for review, I'm definitely gonna get better at doing these book reviews. Number two, if I had to pick a character I hated, it was Gilda Roy Lockhart. Like every time I'd have to listen to the narrator talking about Gilda Roy Lockhart and just narrating the book and Gilda Roy Lockhart was mentioned. Even just when I read the book, I'm just like, oh, please, can I just fast forward it? Normally I would fast forward it, or I would skip a few because I wouldn't care. But for this review, I had to mention it. So, yeah, I enjoyed this book. What would I rate it? I have to rate it a 10 out of 10. Again, I think J.K. Rowling spectacularly writes these books, and they are so self-aware. Like they know what they are, they know what they're trying to be, and it's through the brilliant writing of J.K. Rowling. Guys, this was a long review. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I hope you guys consider picking up Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for yourselves. Anyways, guys, that's it for this review. Please stay tuned for more Harry Potter content coming out in the future, and stay tuned for next month in March. No, this is month. For April, where we will review Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's going to be a fun one. Bye, guys.